Hey there, Writer Rebels. It's the first week of Nanowrimo, so join me today as we talk about some tips on how to survive the entire month of November, starting with week 1. Hey there, everyone. It's me, Scarlett Kol, young adult author, YouTuber, and storyteller, and welcome to my channel. If you are coming back for more, thank you so much for watching my videos and watching my content. I really appreciate it. And if you are a subscriber, even better. And if you are brand new here, thank you so much for joining me. And if you did want to become an exclusive subscriber, make sure you're hitting that subscribe bar and the notification bell below this video so they will let you know every time I put out new content. And you are not going to miss any of my content in November, as I'm going to be doing a 4-part survival guide for Nanowrimo. Basically what it's going to be is I'm going to walk you through the steps of the phases of Nanowrimo. I've done it a few times myself, so I kind of have an idea of what to expect and various different things that you can do to try and move through the various different phases that you're going to encounter. However, if you aren't participating in Nanowrimo, which is the challenge of writing 50,000 words within November, then you can still join in all the fun, as these phases generally will carry through to any project that you have for writing. So whether it's 30 days or 30 months, you will generally go through those same phases, just maybe not exactly in the same timing of 4 weeks. And trust me, those 4 weeks definitely have their own unique challenges as you start moving through your manuscript and moving through this challenge. Hopefully you've set up your project and you are excited to join everybody in the Nanowrimo world. You've probably joined some groups on, say, Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or whatever you're into, and are starting to get some momentum on your project, and that is fantastic. However, this week I want to talk about starting strong. So obviously we are at the beginning of Nanowrimo, so there are various different ways we can start our projects. By saying starting strong, it doesn't necessarily mean having high word counts, which I'm going to be talking about a little bit later. What I mean is being prepared to be a part of Nanowrimo for the entire month. As they say about writing, writing is a marathon, not a sprint. Publishing is a marathon, not a sprint. Well, Nanowrimo is definitely a marathon and not a sprint. 30 days is still a decent amount of time to be working on something, even though it does feel very quick because you're trying to do a lot of words within that amount of time. It is still a 4-week process. So you just need to make sure that when you're going into this, that you're starting in a strong position so that you're actually going to be able to get all the way through the month and to finish and win if that's what your goal is. If this isn't something that you are interested in, but you definitely want to participate in Nanowrimo and some of the goodies that come along with that, I did make a video about being a Nanowrimo rebel, which you can see up here, of various ways that you can take the Nanowrimo challenge without compromising any of your own personal time or mental health, if that's what you need to do, and not actually reaching for that 50,000 word goal, or various other things you can do to modify your Nanowrimo experience. Anyhow, most of these videos are going to be focused around those that are trying to achieve the 50,000 or more goal, but you can definitely modify these however you want to, whatever works in your schedule. And like I said, they could also be used for just longer writing projects outside of Nanowrimo and the month of November. So let's get started. So the first thing I typically notice within week 1 is that there are 3 different types of personalities that are doing Nanowrimo. And the first one I like to call your steady Freddy or your steady Betty type of personality. So what they are doing is they are hitting their word counts every day or very close to it. By this point, they've sat down pretty much every day so far, or every day that they have scheduled if they aren't doing a traditional 1,667 word day. They are following the schedule that they made back in Preptober, and they are coming close to, if not hitting or slightly exceeding, the word counts that they have. They are probably doing pretty good, and for right now, they are sitting pretty to finish their goal by the end of November. The challenges for this personality will tend to come more in like 2.5 to 3 weeks, so I'll definitely be talking about that in future videos. But for right now, my suggestion for them is just to keep on keeping on. You are doing great, go you, and keep reaching for those words. However, the majority of this video is going to be talking about strategies for the other two personalities. And the next one is the one that I typically fall into, and that is the late starter. So there can be various different reasons why you are starting late into Nanowrimo. One can be that you have a busy schedule at the beginning of the month and you know you're gonna have more free time or vacation time towards the end. You could have scheduled a project that you were working on in October that bled into November that you weren't planning to be working on right now, but you want to wrap up so you can move into your Nanowrimo project. I'm totally guilty of this one, as I always kind of set internal deadlines that end up rolling over a little bit longer than I expected. And so for this year, I am still working on a project that I had planned to be done by Halloween. So I am getting a little bit of a late start. You could also be getting a late start because you know you can pick up at the end of November. So, you know, you're just biding your time, you're not feeling it yet, and you just aren't ready to start. The other thing that can happen is that maybe you haven't done enough prep in Preptober. If you are more of a planner and you just don't feel confident in starting your story, you may be spending some more time trying to think through some of those things before you pick up a pen or computer or something like that. Or the worst one about starting later is that you are procrastinating. I'm also super guilty of this, and if you have done any reading about procrastination, they talk about that procrastination isn't necessarily bad time management. It is the fact of fear of repercussion, in the sense that you might have negative feelings or fear about starting a brand new project, especially if you are a newer writer and you're not used to starting new projects, that it might feel very overwhelming for you. So if you don't start, you're not going to feel those feelings of overwhelm. So no matter what the reason it is that you're starting late, I find that this category of person is the ones that tend to quit the most. And why is that? Well, first off, you're starting a little bit later than everybody else. So you've already not started out in a traditional kind of way. And it's very easy to convince yourself, hey, I've already messed this up, why bother at that point? And it is really easy to quit when you haven't actually committed right up front. And there's nothing wrong with starting late. My first year of doing Nanowrimo, I actually started pretty much on time. And then about the 2.5 week mark, I actually straight up quit. I'm like, there is no way I'm going to be able to finish this. I can't do this. I'm busy. I have other things going on. So I quit for about a week. And then after a week, I realized, hey, well, some words are better than no words. So let's just see what I can manage to accomplish before the end of the month. And at the 11th hour, which I'm being very literal here because it was about 11:30, between 11:30 and 11:50, I finished my 50,000 words for the month and handed that in and got it verified. So you can still do it if you start late, if you take a break in the middle of the month or you take time off. So if that does happen, it doesn't mean that you're completely out of the loop and you're not going to be able to finish your Nanowrimo goals just because you've already taken some days off or have gotten a late start. It can be done. It's done all the time. And depending on where you are in your writing journey, maybe you've had experience with doing this. Maybe you know you can write 50,000 words in 2 weeks or 3 weeks as opposed to 4, or that you can knock out a large amount of words in a weekend to catch yourself back up. So knowing who you are as a writer is going to make a huge difference. However, one of the things that can be very, very beneficial for you in this first week or so before you've actually started your project is to try and get yourself immersed in the project. So what I'm saying with that is, even if you aren't actually writing physical words, just preparing yourself to be writing. Personally, I like to be able to do small word sprints, even if it's just a half an hour a day or something like that, where I'm trying to get some words down on paper, because it kind of strikes the match in your head about the story that you're going to be working on. Even if you aren't physically writing, I find the physical writing process is a little bit more effective, but you could just basically sit and maybe brainstorm about your story, make some notes, something like that. So if you are at least spending maybe 20 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day, which is hopefully in most lives not unreasonable, keeping your brain within your story or getting it into your new story, you're going to be able to jump into your story a little bit quicker and a little bit faster once your current project is finished, or you finally get that time or energy or inclination to start that story. One of the concepts of Nanowrimo is that all the things that you do every single day will add up to something bigger. So even if you aren't hitting the 1,667 word count per day to get to 50,000 words. If you are maybe putting down 100 words, 200 words, something, when you do sit down to start your project, you will be so much further ahead than you would be if you basically just pushed everything off. If you know you can pull it off, then that's great, but this tip usually does help people get a little bit of a kickstart into that project. Plus, it allows the synapses to start firing in your brain and starting to piece together that story, whether you're conscious about it or not, so that when you do sit down to write it, you already have some things a little bit more mapped out than you currently do on your project. The earlier you can get into your project, whether you are writing or whether you're not, the better off you're going to pick up that momentum and get back on track. And the third personality type that we typically see in the first week of Nanowrimo are those people who have totally front-loaded their project. They have jumped right in there, they are super excited about it, and they have pounded out a bunch of words already. First off, A, yes, totally jealous. And B, I do want to give you a little bit of caution. Although you have totally rocked it, you really need to know yourself in this sort of situation. To quote the infamous Ice Cube, you need to check yourself before you wreck yourself. And what do I mean by that? It's knowing what you are as a writer, what you can handle and what you can't. Some people are very good at knocking out a bunch of words. One of the people that I write with, 1,667 words a day would probably be one 45-minute writing sprint for her. For me, it's going to be a few hours because I write a little bit slower. So depending what kind of writer you are, how long it takes to write and how exhausting that is for you mentally is going to factor in on how much you can actually handle. Like I said, some people pound out large word counts on a regular basis. It's not a big deal for them and it's not going to affect them very much. However, from personal experience, when I'm writing, I usually have about a 2-day limit of really, really heavy word counts. At that point, my brain kind of needs a break. I can try to force it, but I usually don't get as much done. I'm not happy with the words that I'm getting done, and I need a bit of a break. If you're one of those people and you need more time, then getting all excited about your project and jumping in is fantastic and getting all those word counts up front. But if you're just gonna have to turn around and take 4 days off because you burnt yourself out over the weekend, then that's really not going to be helping you in the long run. Granted, that might be your intention. Maybe you only have weekends to write, so you knock out a bunch of word counts on the weekend, you kind of take a break through the week or anything that you can get in, and then you go really, really hard on the weekends. If that's what your process is and that's what works for you, then that's fantastic. My only caution is for those people who haven't gotten into heavy word sprints yet, because there are a lot of people who start Nanowrimo as beginners or have never written a book before or something like that and don't really know what their process is or what they can expect from putting in super high word counts up front. I get why you want to do that. You're excited about the project. Everything about it is new and fresh and exciting. And you may even finish early, which is phenomenal. However, do not forget your self-care. Make sure you are listening to yourself. Take breaks if you need it. Make sure you're hydrating. Make sure you're eating properly so that you have the fuel to keep moving on these sorts of things. And listen to yourself. If you're putting in huge word counts and you can keep going, awesome. If you're putting in huge word counts and you can feel it taking its toll on you, there's a difference between challenging yourself and hurting yourself. So make sure that you are not crossing that line. I'm telling you, winning Nanowrimo, great accomplishment, but at the end of the day, no one's going to know if you finished or not. I fully endorse it. I think it's a really, really great challenge to be a part of. It's super good for your productivity. It's a really great community experience, but burning yourself out to win isn't going to make or break anybody but you. You and maybe your family and friends are the only ones who are going to suffer because you didn't listen to yourself and take the time that you needed to recharge. Every writer is different. Everyone's process is different. Do not try to force yourself into a process that doesn't work for you. If you are killing it in word counts in week 1 and you can keep that up, that is fantastic. But make sure you are that type of person and that you are taking care of yourself, because you're the only one who's going to know exactly how you feel and what you need. So listen to your body, listen to your mind, even if that means slowing down your process, taking a break, or doing whatever it is you need to do. It's Awesome that you're getting there. Just make sure that you can actually sustain this. There's still 3 more weeks to go, and even if you do finish early, you still have a decent amount of time that you need to keep going at this pace if this is what you're doing. So make sure that you can handle it, and if not, make adjustments now before you burn yourself out and quit because you can't handle it anymore. All right, so hopefully that's giving you a good start and you figured out what kind of writer you are and some of the things that you can do to start strong for NaNoWriMo. So I'll be back next week to talk about some of the week 2 challenges, and that includes hitting that story wall that comes around that week 2, 2.5 mark. So I will be back with some tips on how to move through that, as well as a few other things. So if you are writing for NaNoWriMo, best of luck to you. I hope things are working out and you are getting some of those words down. If you liked this video, make sure you're giving it a thumbs up so YouTube knows that it is something worth watching. And if you don't want to miss my week 2 video, make sure you're hitting that subscription bar and the notification bell to let you know as soon as it goes up. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next week.